Good morning everyone, or good afternoon, not quite sure where we are. First of all, I just want to say that I'm quite tired and a little bit out of it today. I've kind of been that way for the last couple of days, to be honest, so I apologise if this isn't the best video that I've ever made, but anyway, let's get on with it. So it's been a while since I've done a video talking about lucid dreaming and voice hearing, so I figured it was about time that I made another one. So for those of you who don't know, although I'm pretty sure by now most of you do, I hear voices. It's something that I've experienced for a large part of my life, really, and one of my issues around that is no one's ever been able to tell me what's wrong with me, I suppose. So even though my experiences were often categorised as psychosis, no one's been able to elaborate more on that. So really I've kind of been left on my own a lot of the time to make sense of these experiences by myself and to explore them by myself. And one of the ways in which I have done this is through lucid dreaming. Now, because with lucid dreaming you have better access to your subconscious mind, I figured it was a good place to go searching for answers and to understand from a psychological point of view why I might hear these voices, what they might represent, and I guess how I can move forward from that and learn from that. So I have done videos before talking in detail about this, particularly with Scott and Darren, and I will leave links to those videos for people who want to go back and watch those. But today I'm going to be talking about Dean. Now, I started hearing Dean, I think it was the back end of 2012, and what stuck out a lot with Dean was that he was American. So, you know, the other voices that I was hearing were all English. And I remember it quite vividly. I was in a restaurant at the time, and it was quite crowded, so there were lots of people around, lots of conversations going on, and I could hear this sort of American voice talking, and naturally I just assumed it was somebody sat at a different table, but because they were American, you know, it stuck out, so I was kind of looking around to see who was talking, and then it kind of became apparent that it wasn't somebody in the room, it was coming from my own head. And initially I kind of didn't want to accept this. You know, for me, hearing a new voice was an indicator that I wasn't getting better, that I was becoming more unwell, so I didn't want to acknowledge him, didn't want to accept him, just tried to ignore him. However, Dean was quite clever in that he knew that the only way he was going to get me to really acknowledge him was if he infiltrated my dreams. So for a while when I was dreaming, he would be there, and not only that, but in lucid dreams he seemed to be the one in control. I couldn't do anything, you know, I got lucid and he would be there, and he would be dictating the narrative and controlling things. So it was hard to ignore him after that. You know, he'd found the best way to get my attention, and so after that, you know, I acknowledged him and spoke to him, and he left me alone in my dreams, thankfully. So Dean is a voice that doesn't appear as often as my other voices do. You know, I can go a few weeks without hearing from him. So he isn't one that I've put a lot of effort into understanding, because he's not there as much. But you know, like with the other voices, I still thought it was a good idea to explore him and figure out why he's there. So it was a couple of years ago now. I was just having a regular dream. It was a bit of an anxiety dream. I seem to have sort of anxiety dreams around natural disasters a lot. I'm not really sure why, but yeah, that was what was happening. And thankfully I had enough awareness about me to question what was going on around me, and you know, I realised that it couldn't possibly be real, so I became lucid. And after I'd kind of stabilised things and, you know, flew around and messed about a little bit, I remembered that I wanted to find Dean and to sort of ask him, you know, why I experienced him, what he could possibly represent, and things like that. So I kind of went looking for him, and I found him pretty quick, which surprised me, because for some reason in the last few years spawning dream characters has been quite difficult for me. I'm not really sure what that's about, that's something I've got to figure out. But yeah, you know, I found him reasonably quick. So after we'd spoke for a little bit, you know, I asked him sort of what he feels he represents in my life, and he answered that he was kind of this rebellious side of me, because I don't feel like I've ever had that part of me. Like, when I think about being a teenager, I don't feel like I ever really was a teenager. Like, I don't really, I guess because the majority of my adolescence I was going through a big breakdown and I was depressed and I was hearing voices. I kind of feel like I missed out on those years, and Dean was kind of that in a way. He was this sort of very rebellious, mischievous character who, you know, only ever does what he wants to do, doesn't like authority, he's just living his life, you know, on his terms. And, you know, I was kind of thinking about it, and I was wondering, like, why American, why an American voice? And I guess because in many ways he's kind of almost like a character from a kids TV show, or like a video game character, you know, this kind of cool badass type character that as a kid or as a young teenager you'd probably look up to. And I guess, you know, when I think of characters like that, they're usually American. You know, I can't really think of an English character. So yeah, you know, this kind of video game protagonist type guy, which, you know, it made sense for him to be American, then I guess that would be my mind's interpretation, I suppose, of... I've completely lost my train of thought. But anyway, yeah, you know, that it made sense, I guess, for my subconscious to build a character like that. I think that's what I was saying. Anyway, so yeah, that was kind of me getting closer to Dean and understanding his sort of role and why he might be there. And the rest of the dream was pretty good. We kind of skateboarded for a while, and then we went into the city and we found a club, and the club was called the Outer Body Experience. I thought that was pretty cool. Went into this club for a bit. Dean kind of went off and did his own thing. I went off and did my own thing. I won't go into details of what that entails. But yeah, it was like a really cool experience, and I don't think I've gone searching for him in a dream since. But yeah, you know, that was another great insight into my voice hearing experiences, I guess. Before people ask, because I know people will, I know what he looks like. I don't see him in waking life. I mean, sometimes I do, but it's kind of hard to explain. But typically I don't. Typically when I'm awake I just hear them, but in my head I know what they look like. So, you know, when I find them in a dream, you know, I know what they look like, I know who to look out for. So yeah, that's basically it for today, I suppose. I just wanted to share that with you guys. Again, you know, I'm still really passionate about using lucid dreaming for these kind of things, for any sort of mental health issue really, for like trauma based stuff and all of that. I will be doing a talk at one of Charlie Morley's workshops about this, which I'm really excited about. That's coming up very, very soon. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you have any questions, then feel free to leave them in the comments. Other than that, yeah, if you'd like to support me on Patreon, you can. There will be a link to that in the description. As well as that, there's a link to my Redbubble page where I sell merchandise stuff, some of my artwork. If people are interested in that, I'd really appreciate you just checking that out, seeing if there's anything you want to buy. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I've been Max, aka the Rara Rabbit. I'll see you in the next video.